Fantasy football's back on Affinity TV. We're at the quarter-final stage and there's been some great football played so far. It's now getting to the key area where you need to really think about picking your team. There's been some great football played. What do you think, Callum?
Yeah, I think one of my highlights from this World Cup has got to be Australia-Netherlands. Obviously, supporting Australia myself, got a soft spot for them. I thought they battled really hard. I thought they could have got a draw. I thought maybe they deserved it. I don't think Holland put it their best, but I thought Cahill's goal. I don't think there's been a better goal. I know some people are saying Van Persie's header, but I just think weaker foot coming over his shoulder, left foot volley into the top corner.
It was a topper, I'm not going to lie. It was a great goal from Cahill, and it will be up there. It will be in amongst the goal of the tournament candidates. Will it win it? Possibly. Don't know. Might be forgotten about in terms of there'll be maybe a few more goals that will be candidates that will be more fresh in the memory. Like you said, Van Persie's first one, and then also there was the strike from James Rodriguez.
Yeah, I was going to say that was a very good strike. Down off the chest, left foot again. Left foot goals are very popular this year.
Yeah, definitely. My game so far of the tournament has to be USA-Portugal. It was end to end, it was an open game, there was lots at stake for both teams. Obviously, Portugal were
losing against Germany 4-0.
Yeah, they had lost their first game. USA had won their first game. If they had won, they were automatically through. Ended in a draw, last kick of the ball almost, with the Ronaldo cross, but had me on the edge of my seat, and I mean, I'm been a bit of a USA fan for this tournament, so
I've been very impressed with USA this tournament. They're very organised. When you first said them, I know you mentioned them in the preview shows and how Landon Donovan was going to be amazing at the World Cup, but I thought they'd been really good, and obviously I was in Portugal when that game was played, and a lot of the Portugal fans were very impressed with them as well, and were not as confident as you would have probably thought they would have been before the game.
Yes, I think that the USA team, I did kind of backtrack a little bit after my first predictions, because I started to doubt with the exclusion of Landon Donovan, but luckily they've managed to come together as a team, and it's been that team mentality, the work rate that's got them through, and they have performed fantastic.
Tim Howard's performance against Belgium was something to be remembered. We've talked about goals, but from a goalkeeper's perspective, that's got to be one of the games for him in his life. Definitely.
He kept them in the tie right to the death. Unfortunately, I felt they maybe were a wee bit too cautious in normal time. They were obviously trying not to concede, and they succeeded in that until the sort of early stages of extra time, but I think if they had have been a little bit more adventurous going forward, they may have sneaked a goal in normal time. Obviously they were lucky not to concede. As you say, Tim Howard was great, but
very good.
Unfortunately they're out now, and I'm sad. I am very sad. I was gutted when they got knocked out.
3 hours on the phone to me was that night.
Not quite,
had
but
to talk them down.
I was devastated at the result. I thought they deserved more, but at the same time, nobody can deny that they were, in terms of pure skill, they were outplayed in the game. They weren't as skillful or creative as the Belgians.
Well, I think it's been said, it was a transition period for them as well. Klinsmann's been saying a lot of youngsters coming in who have all done pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, the average age of the squad's 24, 25-ish, so lots of young guys. Problem is, another 4 years down the line, guys like Howard, Dempsey, they'll be on the road out by then, so I doubt they'll make maybe the next tournament. Maybe Tim Howard, if they're lucky. But anyway, enough about the USA. They're out now. It's now sort of moving on to the quarter-finals, but just before we do get to that point, your player or fantasy player of the tournament so far, Callum, who's it been?
Well, probably a player I regretted not putting in my team from the start. He's in now for the quarter-final, we've mentioned him before, James Rodriguez. I think he's been a standout player. I hadn't really heard of him before the World Cup. And that's what I love about the World Cup. You know, players just arise out of nowhere for their country, and he's put in some great performances, and he's got a lot of points for people.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny the fact James Rodriguez has been unbelievable. I managed to sneak him in just before the last 16 round as my captain as well, so that brace that he got there in the last 16 was...
Obviously, because I was on holiday, I didn't have the chance to change my team for that, so...
Yeah, and that's something that
That's
we'll
why
say.
I'm a little bit lower on the table, but what could I do? Eh?
We have to say to all the fans at home that are in the fantasy league, mind and keep an eye on your team on rest days, and remember to make transfers, change your team up, because Callum got caught out being on holiday. It can lose you lots of points if you don't put in players to replace the players that have been knocked out of the tournament. But James Rodriguez, definitely a player to watch going forward in the tournament, and I actually think they've got a good chance of beating Brazil in the
You were
quarterfinals.
saying that earlier. I was saying this to you as well. I think Brazil are just going to be one of those teams that, like the Man United of old under Ferguson, when they're not playing great, they're still going to scrape through. I mean, they've got great players. I think Neymar has been fantastic so far,
Yeah.
and I think he could be the one to just kind of pull them into the next round past Colombia. I would like to see Colombia go through though.
Yeah, I think Colombia, they're a more all-rounded team, well-rounded team in terms of they've got creativity coming from all different areas of the park. They remind me of the Brazil teams from the 94 and the 98 World Cups, where they were very
So
attacking,
I don't remember much of them.
free-flowing, and great players in every position. Whereas Brazil, although they've got a lot of well-known players, I think they're quite shaky defensively, relying on Neymar too heavily. But as you said, they've got the fans behind them, and they've got a great chance of progressing. So it'll be an interesting one.
I'd say that's my tie in the next round.
Yeah.
That, or I would say France, Germany, but I haven't been too impressed with Germany. I watched them against Algeria. Credit to Algeria, they played really well, but I just thought there wasn't anything special about Germany. They kind of just very organised, very robust. They do what they need to do to win, which is great. But the Brazil Colombia is going to be filled with flair. There's going to be skills. I think that's got to be the one to watch.
I think that you're right there. I think Brazil Colombia will be the most exciting game in terms of both teams are going to be open, free flowing, and attacking. The France Germany game I think will be a little bit more cagey, and it's the same. The Netherlands game is going to be a little bit to and fro with them in Costa Rica, and then the Argentina game as well. I mean, any team that's up against Argentina are going to sort of be a little bit cagey. They're very threatening on the attack. So, my player of the round, the tournament so far is going to be Iron Robin. I never included him in my team either. It seems to be a theme of the...
Well, us not choosing the right player.
Yeah, that probably as well. But I think that there's a few teams, Argentina being one, Brazil we just mentioned, Holland are the same, relying on a certain player to spark them into doing something creative or maybe making the difference in the game. Holland were lucky to progress against Mexico after
lucky.
a pretty drab performance, to be honest.
Yeah, the heat as well, I think, played a massive factor. Obviously, you can't fully blame it on that, but yeah, I just thought Robin was kind of left on his own a lot of times. I thought he was making really good runs with the ball, and then no one was on.
Yeah, he did lack support. I thought Van Persie was very quiet, but shaky on his legs, Robin. He doesn't really know. He's sort of like one of those bobbly clown things that keep getting knocked over all the time.
Yeah. But I know you disagree with me, but I thought the one he won, the penalty he won, it is a penalty. It's soft, but it is a penalty.
If you're going by the sort of rule book, yes.
Like refs.
Although there was a penalty which I thought was almost a double penalty in a sense. There was 2 tackles on him earlier in the game which never got given. You're not given that, then you're given that soft penalty at the end. Marquez, experienced defender, should never have dived in like that in the first place. So okay, he goes down softly. It's all the theatrics afterwards. It's not for me, unfortunately.
It's not good to see in the game, but he's done it to win this team a penalty. There is contact, so it's not a full blown dive. So you kind of like, but yeah, the reaction to it was pretty theatrical. Get him on the show, maybe do a wee performance.
So we're now on to the stage, quarter-final stage here. The teams have obviously got less and less teams getting knocked out, but to put it into simple terms for the fans at home, you can now pick more players from each national side. Obviously your 23-man squad with your budget is going to have to shrink down, probably looking at maybe a 15-man squad with some guys that are already knocked out, just leave them in there.
Yep.
And you have to be selective now.
You really do. Just doing the transfers for my team. Obviously, because I'd missed a stage, I think it was harder for me because even more players were out, so it was much more selective. But you know, being as good as I am at searching out the players, and I got them in.
Yeah, I think one of the things that as the tournaments went on, I've realised that defenders and goalkeepers, no matter what team, or mostly from the weaker teams, are actually scoring more points because they're defending for a lot more of the game. You get points for blocks and saves. So the goalkeepers, I had Julio Cesar, and he never really scored me a lot of points, despite saving 2 penalties in the last round. Don't get points for those penalty saves. But keepers from lesser teams like Greece or Nigeria,
Algeria and Boli's been doing pretty good.
Yep, these sort of keepers have been racking up the points. So that's a little tip for the fans at home. Also remember that if you do have guys on the bench, put in the guys that are playing first in order to when the games come, because if they don't score you points in the game, you can always drop them and sub in one of the guys on your bench, possibly get you some more points. So a few little pointers, not that we can say too much with our league positions at the moment. 15th, and where are you, Callum?
I think it's been disappointing. I think I'm about 5th, maybe 4th, bottom.
But for all the fans at home, there's still plenty of time to rack up the points. You can easily score well over 100 points in a round. And as I said, you can pick more players from certain teams now. So if you fancy Brazil to go all the way, get those Brazil players in there, or whoever you fancy, get the players in there, and try and pick influential players, guys that are going to have a big say on the games.
Definitely.
So have a look at your fantasy team, see who you like for the quarterfinals. Remember, there will be another rest day after the quarterfinals, so you can change up your team again. But good luck for the quarter-final stage. I hope you pick up some points.
I don't.
But not as much as me and Callum Roach here. Enjoy the quarter-finals.